My best friend has set her sights on my ancestral jade pendant. In my previous life, my boyfriend pretended to be generous and asked me to lend the pendant to my best friend for a few days. I reluctantly agreed due to my pride. Little did I expect, the apocalypse soon followed, and my best friend used the space within the pendant to hoard a large amount of supplies in advance. She didn't tell anyone, and even encouraged her boyfriend to sell me to the chubby guy downstairs for the price of 2 boxes of instant noodles. After being reborn, I looked at my best friend who came to borrow the jade pendant, and couldn't help but sneer. Is she trying that trick again? She can't possibly think that she's the only one who can be reborn, right? In front of the apartment door, my best friend clasped her hands together, looking at me pitifully. Juan, I remember you have a family heirloom jade pendant. Can you lend it to me for a couple of days? Song Qingya already had a pure and innocent look, and now she was acting cute and vulnerable, making it really hard to refuse her. I stood there in shock for a long time before realizing, I have been reborn. Moreover, I was reborn at the moment when the spatial amulet was stolen. In my previous life, the apocalypse descended, and a zombie virus swept across the globe. Song Qingya relied on the space within the amulet to stockpile a large amount of supplies in advance, but she didn't tell anyone and only used them secretly. Once, I clearly saw her licking an ice cream, but when I got closer, she looked at me innocently and said, Juan, are you so hungry that you're seeing things? Where is there any ice cream here? I didn't believe her. The sweet, rich scent was still lingering in the air. Later, the supplies at home ran out. Under Song Qingya's instigation, Sui sold me to the chubby guy downstairs for the price of 2 boxes of instant noodles. I begged pitifully, but she just smiled with a face full of pride. Juan, you are not mistaken. I indeed have a lot of supplies in my hands. I have to thank the space in your jade pendant for allowing me to stock up on food that I can't finish even after years. Oof, I took a deep breath, trying my best to stay calm, even though I was reborn. Recalling the pain of being torn apart by zombies made me tremble uncontrollably, and all of this is thanks to Song Qingya. Before I could say anything, an impatient male voice came through. It's just a jade pendant. What's the big deal about borrowing it for a couple of days? Don't be so stingy. In the apartment, Sui sat upright. His disapproving gaze shot at me like 2 sharp arrows. He has always been accustomed to standing on a moral high ground to criticize others. In my previous life, if it weren't for him leading the way to PUA me, even though Song Qingya was my best friend, I would never have lent out such an important ancestral jade pendant. Just thinking about how I wasted so many years on such a scumbag makes me sneer. Last time I went to your house, didn't your mom wear a bracelet worth over 100,000? Since you're so helpful, why not suggest to your mom to lend the bracelet to Qingya for a few days? Sui was taken aback, her face showing some embarrassment. What nonsense are you talking about? My mom and Qingya are not familiar with each other. Now you know they are not familiar. How come you were so generous when you were just persuading others? I lowered my gaze, hiding the coldness in my eyes. In my past life, it was my own foolishness. I can't blame others, but in this life, they won't be able to covet my space again. Song Qingya saw that I was unyielding, and her pitiful expression quickly vanished. She tucked her loose hair behind her ear and said in a negotiable tone, Juan, I really like that jade pendant. How about this? You name a price, and I'll buy it. Upon hearing this, my eyes flickered. Stockpiling supplies requires money. I just graduated, and I only have a few thousand yuan in my account at most. With someone like Song Qingya delivering herself to me, why not take advantage of it? Sure, a flat price. 100,000. Before Song Qingya could say anything, Sui was already unhappy. 100,000, why don't you go rob a bank? The jade pendant itself might not be worth 100,000, I explained leisurely, but it's a family heirloom, which means a lot to me, far beyond what 100,000 can compare to. Sui wanted to argue further, but was stopped by Song Qingya. I agree. She went to the corner and made a few phone calls, quickly gathering 100,000 yuan to scan the code for me, of course. I also took out the jade pendant. However, the surface of the jade pendant was dull, looking worse than a fake one worth a few dollars from a street vendor. A hint of hesitation flashed in Song Qingya's eyes as she tentatively asked, Juan, are you sure this is the jade pendant passed down in your family? Yes, I nodded firmly. Sui was afraid I would pull out a fake jade pendant to deceive him, so he quickly bent down to check it over. Unfortunately, the jade pendant is real. But the space inside it had already bound itself to me when I went back to my room to get the pendant. In other words, this jade pendant has no other use besides being decorative. That's right, the jade pendant has a small chip here. I saw it the last time she took it out, Sui said with great certainty. Upon hearing this, Song Qingya seemed afraid that I would regret it and quickly put away the jade pendant. After the two left, I closed the door and began to familiarize myself with the use of the space. The structure of the space is very simple. It is a sphere with a radius of 50 meters. In addition to having storage capabilities, time inside is paused. Whatever is put in looks the same when taken out. It is now October 11th, 2353, around 7 in the morning. In the previous life, the outbreak of the zombie virus occurred at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on this day. That is to say, I still have more than 10 hours to prepare. Thinking of this, I quickly took out my phone. Mom and Dad, hurry to the town to stock up on supplies. The more the better, my dad shouted. What's going on? Are they going to lock down the city? We haven't heard any news. I quickly told him to keep his voice down. In a post-apocalyptic world, people's hearts are hard to gauge. If someone sets their sights on you because of this, it could be a costly mistake. Let's not talk about it for now. Just focus on stockpiling supplies. Remember to be careful and don't let anyone you know find out. After the call ended, I directly ordered hundreds of breakfast items on my phone. Generally, the food in breakfast shops is prepared in advance and just needs to be packed. After putting the breakfast into storage, I drove to an outdoor equipment store in the city. I also rented a few cars along the way, RVs, box trucks, off-road vehicles. Almost all the vehicles that might be needed after the apocalypse have been rented out. Of course, the rental fees are not cheap. Fortunately, I only need to pay for the first 2 days of rental. Upon arriving at the store, I directly handed the owner a shopping list. Windproof lighters, 20 boxes, 50 pieces per box. Anthracite, 100 boxes. Warm patches, 10 boxes. Cartridge stoves and matching canned gas, 20 boxes. 10 boxes of alcohol blocks, 2 small solar panels for charging mobile phones, 20 dual-use USB drives for phones and computers, each with 256 gigabytes of memory, 1 silent generator. With 5 boxes of matching diesel, flashlights, 10 pieces, high-capacity power bank, 20 units, warmth-providing tent sleeping bags, 15 sets. On the recommendation of the boss, I also purchased a complete set of outdoor gear, which includes infrared binoculars, an axe, ropes, a compass, a locator, walkie-talkies, and other outdoor equipment. Later, after my persistent persuasion, the boss secretly sold me his collection of tang swords and mechanical crossbows, including the matching crossbow bolts. I spent over 90,000. I felt a bit of pain as I scanned the code. After paying this amount, there was only 6,000 left in my phone's savings. At 10 in the morning, there are still 7 hours until the apocalypse descends. I put on a mask and quickly walked into the largest warehouse supermarket in the city. Following the signs, I rushed into the beverage section first. My fingers casually brushed over the bottled water, causing the small mountain of water bottles to shrink by half a meter. I closed my eyes and felt it. Not much, just a few hundred boxes. Next, I replicated the process for the snack area, fruit area, fresh produce area, grain and oil area, seasoning area, and daily necessities area. The storage supermarket covers an area of 30,000 square meters, and I walked until my feet hurt. But I didn't expect to run into Song Qingya and Sui here. As soon as he saw me, Sui rushed over and started scolding me without holding back. Yuan, how did you end up like this? We have already had someone appraise it, and the market price of your jade pendant is at most a few hundred yuan. Huan, don't blame Sui. He is just worried that you might go astray and get deceived by a fake jade pendant. Song Qingya finished speaking and carefully observed the expression on my face. But she was destined to be disappointed. I innocently widened my eyes and pretended not to understand as I looked at her. What fake jade pendant? What I gave you is real. Didn't Sui confirm it back then? You wouldn't be regretting it and biting back at me, saying the bracelet is fake, would you? Song Qingya's expression froze. Even Sui looked at her with suspicion. I took a few steps back with a forced smile, directly shaking off her hand. I treated you as my best friend, that's why I let go of the ancestral jade pendant. If you regret it, you can just say so, there's no need to slander me. I pretended to take out my phone, intending to return the money. Song Qingya quickly pressed down on my hand. Huan, I was just joking, don't take it to heart. Looking at the uncomfortable expression on her face, I knew. I won the bet. If only she had waited a few more seconds, she would have seen the insufficient balance prompt. But she didn't dare to gamble, even less did she dare to return the jade pendant to me. Song Qingya insisted on coming with me to the supermarket entrance. I know her plan. She just wants to see if I have hoarded a lot of supplies. Unfortunately, it's not yet time to tear off the mask. In front of them, I directly opened the trunk. When she saw that the large trunk contained only half a box of mineral water and some vegetables and fruits she had just bought, Song Qingya secretly breathed a sigh of relief, dispelling the doubts in her heart, just as she was about to say something. A staff member not far away suddenly waved his hand and shouted, "Miss Song, the goods you requested are ready, please come over to check them." Looking at the pile of goods that resembled a small mountain, I quietly took a photo and then pretended to be surprised as I asked, "With so much, can you eat it all by yourself?" Song Qingya's face turned dark. She was the kind of person who was selfish to the extreme, otherwise. In her previous life, she wouldn't have held a large amount of supplies but still been stingy enough not to give me even a bottle of water. Our company is going out for a picnic, so they sent me to procure a batch of supplies. Song Qingya tucked her loose hair behind her ear, looking innocent and natural. I wore a smile on my face, but my heart grew colder. Even at this point, Song Qingya still does not intend to share any news about the apocalypse with me, but it doesn't matter. The friendship I had with her for many years was severed by her own hands in the last life, leaving only hatred. Song Qingya is indeed very cautious. Although she went back herself, she left Sui behind. Huan, it's inevitable for couples to have some minor friction. As long as you talk it out, it will be fine. Since today is a holiday, why don't you and Yi Gu take this opportunity to relax? Song Qingya asked tentatively, a flash of malice passing through her eyes. Clearly, she wants to use Sui to monitor me. Once I stockpile supplies, I'm afraid the next moment the news will reach her. I looked up and smiled. Sure, it's been a long time since I've had a buffet. Sui frowned and was about to refuse, but still succumbed under Song Qingya's pleading gaze. I couldn't help but smirk inwardly, pretending not to notice the reluctance on Suyi's face as I dragged him straight to a highly rated barbecue buffet nearby. The reason for choosing this place was simple. I just wanted to take advantage of the buffet. Wasn't Song Qingya afraid that I would hoard supplies, which is why she specifically sent Sui to monitor my actions? Then I will collect delicious food right under his nose, openly and without shame. Freshly sliced beef and lamb, half-cooked grilled squid and shrimp, tender and juicy steak. There are also various delicacies from all over, such as sweet and sour pork, braised chicken, and squirrel fish, free drinks and beverages, a chilled fruit platter, and even staple foods like Yangzhou fried rice, hot dry noodles, and steamed buns are not overlooked. In the bustling self-service restaurant with so many people coming and going, even if the restaurant notices an abnormal quantity of ingredients, it would take a while to investigate. Moreover, in a few hours, the zombie virus will break out. By then, who will still be able to trace me? After coming out of the buffet restaurant, Sui glanced at the time on his phone, then, as if he had completed some task, he couldn't wait to leave. Without surveillance, I hurried to the pharmacy to stock up on commonly used medications, and then went to the farmer's market to buy some seeds, fertilizers, and nutrient soil. At around 4 in the afternoon, I timed myself and entered the community right on schedule. There are still half an hour left until the apocalypse descends. I took a deep breath and began the final preparations before the apocalypse. The apocalypse will soon lead to a halt in water and electricity. Not only cold water, but hot water also needs to be prepared in advance. I looked at the remaining gas bill of only a few dozen, and decisively recharged 200. After that, I tightly closed the doors and windows, pulled down the curtains, and charged all the power banks. Once everything was ready, I took out the 20 USB drives I had previously stocked up and began downloading various videos and materials. At 5 in the afternoon, the apocalypse arrived on time, accompanied by a piercing scream. The elderly woman with shopping bags swiftly pounced on the young man beside her and bit down. Blood quickly seeped out. The duty guard saw the situation and hurried over to help, to my surprise. The elderly person who usually couldn't stand steadily became incredibly strong at this moment, overpowering several young and strong men. As I looked out at the chaos outside, my long-suspended heart finally settled. On the television, the content that was originally being broadcast had disappeared, replaced by a blue background with white text reading, "Emergency Notice, Attention all citizens." On the evening of the 11th, many places around the world were attacked by an unknown virus. According to incomplete statistics, the number of global infections has exceeded 1 million and is currently on the rise. Citizens, please remain calm and patiently wait for rescue. Looking at the content that was identical to my previous life, I calmly turned off the television and gazed out the window. In just this short time, dozens of zombies have appeared in the community. Their eyes are gray and white, and they stagger as they walk, but when they encounter prey, they become exceptionally fierce, biting anyone they see. The screams echoed throughout the entire community, and even the air was filled with the smell of blood. "Hey, girl, is everything okay on your side?" In the video, my dad's voice was trembling. "Did you make us stock up on supplies because of this?" I quickly reminded them, zombies carry a virus, and if they scratch or bite you, the chance of infection is almost 100%. You all stay at home during this time. Make sure to lock the doors and windows tightly. Although there is a well at home, don't forget to stock up on water. Also, zombies are very sensitive to sound and smell, so when you cook, remember to keep the noise down, and don't turn on the lights at home to avoid being targeted by others. Finally, my voice was a bit choked, and all the grievances since my rebirth erupted at that moment. How I wish I could be by their side at this moment. Unfortunately, I was reborn too late. In order to ensure a stable life for our family in the future, I can only stockpile supplies for now and look for opportunities to go back later. Mom and Dad, from now on, don't trust anyone, and don't get involved with anyone. After some time, I will definitely come back to find you. My dad wanted to say something, but my mom grabbed the phone. "Daughter, you must take good care of yourself while you're out there. Your dad and I are not going anywhere. We will just wait for you to come back at home." Given that there are still many zombies wandering around the neighborhood, all the residents unanimously kept quiet. At that moment, a message popped up in the chat box. "Song Qingya, Yuhuan, how are things on your side? Even at this time, you still don't forget to inquire about my news." I let out a cold laugh and posted something online using a pseudonym. Shocking. Someone actually predicted the apocalypse in advance. In the tone of a supermarket employee, I detailed Song Qingya's hoarding behavior today. Who understands? I just followed the trend and bought several large bags of food and drinking water, and the apocalypse arrived that night. Now, even if I'm stuck at home, I don't have to worry. In the past, hoarding supplies like this would definitely be criticized by netizens as thoughtless, but now it's different, because the apocalypse has really come. To increase the authenticity of the post, I also uploaded a photo. It is a photo of Song Qingya directing the supermarket staff to load supplies onto a small truck. After the post was published, it quickly sparked heated discussions. Some envied Song Qingya for stockpiling a large amount of supplies in advance, but more people dug into her personal information. After doing all this, I directly logged out of my alternate account. I will no longer respond to private messages from online users. I admit to my own dark humor. I believe it won't be long before someone follows the clues online and finds Song Qingya. By then, will she still be able to keep those supplies? After finishing all of this, I turned off my phone and sank into the soft blanket. At night, the number of zombies surrounding the community increased, and various howls echoed almost all night. Just listening to those heart-wrenching screams brings to mind the despair of the residents in the community. I put on my headphones, trying hard not to listen to the sounds outside. With the experience of my previous life, I am very clear. The most terrifying thing in the apocalypse is not the zombies, but the human heart. To survive smoothly in the apocalypse, the first thing to abandon is your cheap sympathy. Just as dawn was breaking, sporadic gunfire suddenly erupted outside the community. I quickly crawled out of bed. But all I saw was the rescue team being chased by a horde of zombies, on the second day of the apocalypse. The city had almost completely fallen, thick smoke was everywhere, and some areas had already begun to face water and power outages. I splashed cold water on my face, and my mind instantly became clear. Breakfast is steaming shrimp congee. Large pieces of shrimp are added along with diced vegetables into the congee, nutritious and delicious. After the meal, I leaned back on the sofa and continued to educate my parents about zombies. Finally, I emphasized once again, never be a saint. Because in the apocalypse, human hearts are the most susceptible to temptation. Even a friend who was smiling at you just a second ago may unhesitatingly stab you in the back the next second. For several days in a row, I have been organizing the supplies in the space. Although there is plenty of food in the space, most of it is uncooked. To avoid the inconvenience of cooking without water or electricity in the future, I made almost every dish I could think of. A fruit platter with cleaned and cut fruits, various flavors of purple rice balls, golden and crispy fried chicken cutlets and chicken popcorn. I even made 200 portions of different flavored rice bowls. That day, I was struggling to wash pig intestines when I suddenly heard a heart-wrenching cry from the balcony across the way. "You, son, are such a bastard. If you dare to take food from our home to help that bitch upstairs. Do you believe I will jump off this place with your son?" I peeked my head out and took a glance from the balcony. The child, only 4 or 5 years old, clutched the balcony railing with one hand, crying out in fear. Below was a mass of zombies, but the woman was determined, pulling him with all her strength, half of her body already hanging over the balcony. Many people witnessed this scene and urged the woman to calm down. In the present day, as the apocalypse has just arrived, most people still retain their kindness and warmth from before the end. However, the woman seemed to have not heard anything, dragging the child and leaping directly. I closed my eyes, not daring to look any longer. The further we go, the more human nature is completely exposed. Hunger, fear, oppression, these are the most direct emotions of humanity, and once they cannot be vented, they will accumulate more and more until they crush a person. The 10th day of the apocalypse. According to the typical household supply reserves, by this time, they have almost been consumed. The atmosphere in the group visibly became anxious. What should we do? The food in the fridge is almost gone. Didn't they say rescue would come soon? Why is there not even a shadow now? I've run out of food at home. Does anyone have extra food? I'm willing to pay for it, no matter the price. The group is filled with messages asking for help. Unfortunately, most people are just there to watch. And very few are willing to lend a hand. First, everyone is a neighbor, and during this time, selling supplies at a high price will inevitably lead to being labeled as greedy. Second, everyone knows that as long as the apocalypse continues, the supplies in hand are a matter of survival, and no one dares to sell their supplies to others at this time. I quietly watched for a while, and just as I was about to exit, I saw someone sharing a link in the group. Upon closer inspection, it was indeed the post I had originally published online. The topic was very popular, with likes reaching over 100,000. I glanced over it briefly, and Song Qingya's personal information had been completely exposed. She tried to use the company as an excuse to brush off the netizens, but was immediately exposed by a colleague. Procurement of supplies has always been the responsibility of our logistics department. When did it become the responsibility of your marketing department? Song Qingya did not reply, but the topic has become more and more heated. In the latest comments, there are already netizens claiming to be Song Qingya's neighbors, preparing to come over to borrow supplies. It quickly became noon. The dining table was filled with takeout dishes of stir-fried pig intestines, braised pig intestines, spicy pig intestines, dry pot pig intestines, and scallion grilled pig intestines. Although pig intestines are delicious, they are really troublesome to prepare. After working on them for 2 days, I feel like I've almost marinated myself. Just as I was about to take a shower, a deafening song suddenly erupted from downstairs, and the direction seems to be the opposite apartment building. I quickly took out my binoculars and opened the curtain a crack. Downstairs, a horde of zombies was crazily gathering towards the opposite side. With a crisp crack, the unit door across was directly smashed open. The news in the community group quickly turned into 99+. Damn, who shamelessly threw the Bluetooth speaker downstairs? Damn it, don't let me catch who it is. Who will save us? The zombies have already entered the building. I looked at the messages in the group and felt my heart race. In my previous life, it seems this scene never happened. At that moment, my phone vibrated. Damn it, who closed the hallway door? Hurry down here. Yeah and I are trapped in the underground garage. It's Sue. I was stunned for a moment and quickly opened the post I had just read this morning. The matter of borrowing supplies has developed further, just as I guessed. In the face of their neighbors' humble requests, Sue and Song Qingya remained completely unmoved. They even took the opportunity to mock, relying on the newly installed double-layer stainless steel security door at home. In this way, she has incurred the wrath of the masses. A dozen people barged into her home. Frantically seizing various supplies, Song Qingya desperately tried to stop them, but in the end, only a few packs of instant noodles were left. As for Sue, I had already hidden on the balcony after that group of people barged in. I looked at my phone vibrating wildly, my eyes flickering. Sue and the other two attracted all the zombies to the opposite building in order to smoothly enter the community. The residents of the opposite building must hate them to death. Thinking of this, I anonymously sent a message in the group. Where is the property management? Hurry up and check the surveillance. It seems that someone just broke into the underground parking lot. Once the message was sent, many people in the group at the property management to check the surveillance. After all, this is a matter concerning the safety of the entire community, and this time, the property management did not shirk their responsibility. Soon, two figures with bruised faces appeared in the surveillance footage. Looking at the real-time footage shared by the property management, the group chat instantly exploded with messages, especially the residents of the opposite building. Each one of them wished they could directly tear the intruders apart. What the hell? Who is this person, leading the zombies towards us just to survive? Does anyone know these two? They look a bit familiar. Damn it, I'm willing to offer 10 bags of instant noodles. Who can take care of these two jerks? At that moment, a message popped up with the note, AAA game boostingly go. AAA game boostingly go. I have a solution. The group suddenly fell silent. Just as everyone was wondering if this was a prank, a drone appeared out of nowhere. The deafening song rang out once again. The zombies that were originally besieging the opposite apartment building were attracted by the drone and immediately turned their direction towards the underground garage. The surveillance footage in the group is still updating in real time. The silver-white drone traced an arc in the air, followed by a surging tide of corpses. Sui looked at the pale-faced Song Qingya beside him, who was terrified, and quickly made a decision. Yaya, for my sake, please endure a little. He reached out his hand and unhesitatingly pushed Song Qingya into the crowd of corpses, then turned and ran in the opposite direction. Seeing this scene, I fell silent. This is Sui. They say they love you, but when danger comes, they will unhesitatingly abandon you. A few minutes later, the phone suddenly vibrated twice. Huan, Song Qingya has been eaten by zombies. Can you forgive me? Seeing this seemingly self-praising statement, I felt a chill run through me. Sui was still persistently sending messages. Huan, I really know I was wrong. After this period of time, I finally saw my true feelings and realized that the person I have always loved the most is you. We don't know how long the apocalypse will last. You're just a girl, and I really can't rest easy. Let me stay by your side and protect you. How dare he say such a thing? Clearly, he is coveting someone else's resources, yet he shamelessly calls it protection. Do you really think everyone else is a fool? I couldn't be bothered to deal with him, so I just set my phone to silent mode. I woke up to a power outage. The community was pitch black. I tried to make a call home. Fortunately, the call could still go through, but the signal was intermittent and it didn't seem like it would last long. We lowered our voices and chatted for a while longer before reluctantly hanging up the phone. After dawn, the last bar of signal disappeared. It was at this moment that the evil in human nature began to be unleashed. In just one morning, the supermarket outside the community was visited several times. In the last instance, a group of people directly occupied the supermarket and locked the owner and his family outside. The owner, holding his child, hid and dodged, and after finally getting back to the car, those people smashed the car window while laughing. The community is not very peaceful either. The property management staff began searching for food from door to door. They also do not target those homes that have people inside. If they encounter someone, they skip over and move on to the next house. Surprisingly, the residents of the community did not oppose this matter. Everyone believed that once the property management collected enough food, they would definitely distribute it to them. Even in my previous life, I held on to such fantasies. 1 day, 2 days. The property management has remained silent. Some people, unable to bear their hunger any longer, took the risk to run to the property office, only to find it already deserted. After learning the truth, the residents of the entire community were devastated. In other words, they not only missed the last opportunity to collect supplies, but they also watched helplessly as others took the supplies right in front of them. I was so foolish, really. I thought they were collecting supplies for the residents of the community, but I never expected they were such people. I was even more foolish. Seeing them sweating profusely while moving things, I actually felt sorry for them and brought them 2 bottles of drinks. The 28th day of the apocalypse, I leaned against the window, holding a telescope in one hand. Downstairs, an off-road vehicle crashed left and right, finally breaking through the encirclement of zombies, but not everyone was as lucky as they were. Many people were overwhelmed by the surging horde of corpses before they could leave the community. Ever since the official announcement of the safe zone, more and more people couldn't hold back and chose to head to the safe zone with their remaining supplies. After all, staying in the community would eventually lead to running out of supplies, and taking a chance might still offer a chance to survive. For lunch, I had rice noodles with pickled vegetables and fatty intestines. The steaming rice noodles, topped with fatty intestines, peanuts, golden needle mushrooms, and other ingredients, are sour, spicy, and appetizing. Taking a sip of the hot soup made me feel completely relaxed. Just as I finished eating, there was a sudden knock at the door outside. I calmly tidied up the dishes before slowly walking over. Outside the door, Siyi's voice sounded a bit anxious. Juan, hurry and open the door. Someone has started sweeping the building, and in a little while, they will reach your floor, downstairs. The zombies are banging on the door frantically, and there is a lot of noise inside the building as well. Everything seems to align with what Siyi said. Seeing that I didn't respond, Siyi's voice became more urgent. Juan, I really came to warn you because I'm worried about you. Please open the door quickly. You know how crazy those people who sweep the buildings are. The security door was banging loudly. I forced myself to listen for a long time, but I couldn't hold back any longer and interrupted him. Siyi, are you done performing? The noise outside the door paused for a moment, and then the banging on the door grew louder. Along with this commotion, there was also a teasing laugh. Isn't it all about the beauty trap? In the end, it still relies on my axe. The other party pushed Siyi aside, and the sharp tip of the axe landed directly on the door handle. Thud! The force was so great that the entire door frame was shaking. I frowned. At this rate, this door definitely wouldn't hold for long. The people outside were still shouting. Those who know what's good for them should open the door themselves. Maybe if we're happy, we might spare your life. I calmly spoke. What you're doing is illegal. Aren't you afraid I'll call the police? Call the police. That person seemed to have heard something funny, even stopping the action of prying open the door. There's no internet or signal right now. If you have the guts, go ahead and call the police. Let's see if they will come to catch us. To be honest with you, in this building, besides the 2 of us, you are the only one still alive. So that's how it is. Hearing this, I slowly curled my lips into a smile. With such words, I no longer have to fear that today's events will be leaked. I placed my hand on the door handle and twisted open the security door. The 2 people outside were startled, taking advantage of their unpreparedness. I directly summoned a basin of boiling syrup from the space. Then, without mercy, I splashed it over them. The boiling syrup made contact with their skin, instantly causing large blisters to form. This was something I had carefully prepared for them. Since the building sweep started in the community 2 days ago, I have been waiting for this moment. I just didn't expect Siyi to come knocking on my door. Seeing the 2 of them rolling on the ground in pain, I curled my lips and took out the chilly water I had prepared earlier. Guests are always welcome, so of course I have to treat them well. I generously splashed an entire basin of chilly water on them. A piercing scream echoed once again. However, this time I had no time to appreciate it. Downstairs, the growls of the zombies grew closer. Siyi and the other person seemed to realize something. Just as they were about to crawl into the room, the security door in front of them slammed shut with a bang. I no longer paid attention to the situation in the hallway, when the syrup was splashed. Although Sue was standing a bit further back, there were still quite a few places that got burned. Moreover, this was scalding hot and sticky syrup. Once it stuck to the skin, it wouldn't come off, and its power was much greater than that of hot water. Even if they miraculously survive, they probably won't be able to cause trouble for others. Clang, clang. Since last night, the sounds of impact outside haven't stopped. To enter the building, hundreds of zombies formed a ladder, with the one at the top frantically banging against the security window. Today is the 35th day since the apocalypse began. The zombies began to pursue the scent of humans. On the radio, the authorities had issued a notice early in the morning, emphasizing the importance of staying quiet. There are wandering zombies everywhere, especially the windows on the first floor, which are almost completely blocked by zombies. 2 days later, the horde of zombies began to march towards the higher floors. Early in the morning, I sprayed a lot of floral water at the windows and the door. The footsteps downstairs grew increasingly dense. I was uneasy, so I poured another bottle of floral water on myself. Fortunately, the zombies did not notice this floor and went straight upstairs. Bang, bang. The sound of impacts from upstairs continued, and the entire hallway seemed to tremble. I huddled in the narrow bathroom, not daring to breathe. Zombies have a very keen sense of smell. As long as they catch a whiff of human scent, they will not easily leave. I waited patiently until the heavy footsteps gradually faded away, and only then did I let out a sigh of relief. A few days later, the entire neighborhood was filled only with the roars of zombies. I began to be more cautious than I had been in the previous days. Without enough flesh and blood to sustain them, the zombies downstairs visibly became more agitated. They began to hunt various living creatures frantically until they could no longer smell the presence of any other living beings. The neighborhood has become increasingly quiet, based on my observations. There should be no more than 5 households remaining in the neighborhood. This is also thanks to the rain a few days ago, when someone took a bucket to collect water on the balcony. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that there were other survivors in the community besides me. I was bored, lying by the window, numbering the zombies wandering around the community. For example, the elementary school zombie downstairs. He probably had just gotten out of school when the virus broke out, and didn't even have time to put down his backpack, carrying it for several months like this. There was also that one-eyed old man, who lost his eyeball when he was slapped away by someone while fighting with other zombies for prey. Occasionally, zombies dressed in rescue suits would appear around. Bright colors always catch people's attention at a glance. Life without the internet is boring, compared to those who need to venture out to search for supplies. I am undoubtedly lucky. One should learn to be content. The 81st day since the apocalypse began, snowflakes began to fall from the sky. Early in the morning, I was woken up by the sounds from the balcony. At first, I thought it was a zombie attack, and I quickly jumped out of bed. But when I pulled back the curtains, it turned out to be a silver-gray drone. Hanging below the drone was a small cloth bag, which contained a fairy wand and a greeting card. The greeting card was written in a crooked manner with colorful pens. Happy New Year. I stood there in a daze, realizing it after a long time. Today is the Gregorian New Year, which is also New Year's Day. As I watched the drone about to fly away, I instinctively called out, "Wait!" Seeing that the drone really did stop, I quickly grabbed a handful of candy from the table, packed it into a bag, and tied it to the drone. A few days ago, several households could no longer hold on and took the risk to leave the community. Besides me, the only ones still holding out in the community are the residents of Unit 805 and Building 2. We have never met, but we are aware of each other's existence. After all, I have discovered more than once that Unit 805 uses drones to spy on my home, and I have also used binoculars more than once to observe their activities. After closing the balcony door, I rubbed my slightly frozen red hands. Although the snow outside is not heavy, the air is exceptionally cold. The zombies are frozen stiff, and their movement speed has slowed down. Looking at the faint glow emitted by the fairy wand, I hesitated for a long time before finally making a decision: go home. Compared to previous years, this winter is obviously colder than usual. I really can't rest easy about my parents' situation. Additionally, due to the influence of the cold air, the zombies' movements are sluggish, and their attack power has significantly decreased. This is the best time to go home, otherwise. Who knows if the zombies will return to their previous state by next spring when the flowers bloom. Thinking of this, I immediately changed into warm clothes and hurried downstairs. Just as I was about to leave the community, a man who was as thin as a monkey sprang out. "You Juan, it really is you." I thought I was mistaken about who it was. The man had just crawled out of the sewer, his clothes so dirty that the original color was unrecognizable. I could smell the stench on him from a distance. Yet he acted so familiar, coming over to open the passenger door. It wasn't until he got closer that I barely recognized his identity. Sue. I quickly locked the car door. In such chaotic times, how is Sue still alive? I was somewhat shocked. Sue was staring at me intently. "That post on Weibo was posted by you, right? Just because you were jealous that I chose Qingya, you incited those people to steal our supplies. You still dare to splash boiling syrup on people. Do you know that your actions have cost a life?" Sue said, instinctively touching his disfigured cheek. I looked at him expressionlessly, not missing the flash of resentment in his eyes. The apocalypse could end at any moment. A hidden danger like Sue must not be left behind. Seeing that I didn't move, Sue looked at me with a fierce expression. "What are you staring at? Aren't you afraid I'll expose the things you've done? Hurry up and open the door. The door will be opened." But not right now. I slammed the steering wheel, and Sue was caught off guard, directly knocked to the ground. "What the hell are you doing? Do you even know how to drive?" Sometimes, a war of words is the most useless thing. I rolled down the window halfway and aimed a mechanical crossbow at him. Whoosh! Without any hesitation, the crossbow bolt shot towards Sue. At a distance of less than half a meter, there was no possibility of error. Especially since the arrowhead had been pre-treated with the blood of zombies. Sue didn't even have a chance to beg for mercy before being shot through the throat by an arrow. I got out of the car and decisively gave him an axe, completely eliminating the possibility of him turning into a zombie. Along the way, survivors kept waving, signaling for the off-road vehicle to stop. "Little girl, are you going to the safe zone? Can you give me a ride?" "Me too. I want to go to the safe zone. I have many designer bags. As long as you're willing to give me a ride, you can choose any of them." Seeing that I didn't stop, those people quickly changed their tune. "What's wrong with today's young people? They're really cold-blooded and selfish. Can't you see there are elderly and children here? What's wrong with giving someone a ride if it's on your way? It won't cost you anything." I'm not refusing to pay. I didn't even look at them and just stepped on the gas to leave. In a post-apocalyptic world, people's hearts are hard to gauge. Who knows what might happen if I stop? It would be a small matter if the car gets impounded, but if a person gets detained, that would be troublesome, because I had to avoid zombies. A journey that originally took more than 10 hours took me 2 days and 1 night to reach my destination. The village has become much more desolate. I drove slowly along the dirt road in the village until I saw the place I had longed for in my memories. 1 step, 2 steps, I stood in front of the familiar door. Perhaps it's the homesickness that makes me timid. In the freezing temperatures below zero, my palms were sweating. Knock, knock, knock. I knocked on the door. Seeing no response, I couldn't help but knock a few more times. This time, I saw a flash of light from a flashlight in the yard through the crack of the door. But it quickly disappeared. TSK, the old couple is quite cautious. I stifled a laugh and called out in a low voice, "Mom and Dad, it's me, Juan." This time, the door was quickly opened. My mom looked at me in disbelief, then gave my dad's arm a hard twist. "Juan is back. I'm not dreaming, am I?" My dad grimaced in pain. My mom circled around me, checking me out, and finally concluded, "You've lost weight." So the next morning, the old hen that we raised for several years has now ended up in my stomach. Due to its remote location, my hometown has not been significantly affected by the zombie virus. The few zombies that remain are still trapped in the pit on the back mountain and cannot get out. Since there was nothing lacking at home, I didn't confess about the situation in the space. After all, my parents are getting older, and I don't want them to be worried about these things. This winter is particularly long. It wasn't until May of the following year that the snow began to show signs of melting. Various plants, after a winter of dormancy, are eagerly sprouting tender buds. Vitality, I felt this word after a long time. At the same time, good news came from the radio. The village chief held a meeting and publicly announced that the apocalypse was about to end. Song Qingya used the space in the jade pendant to stockpile a large amount of supplies in advance. But she didn't tell anyone and secretly used them herself. I see. The village chief suppressed the excitement in his eyes and put on a serious expression. Tomorrow at noon, the serum for the zombies will fall with the artificial rain. At that time, everyone should stay at home and behave. No one should go out and cause trouble. On the 292nd day of the apocalypse, heavy rain fell right on time. The zombies that had been lingering around the foot of the mountain suddenly seemed to hit the pause button, standing dumbly in the rain, motionless. A few minutes later, the zombies suddenly began to fight without any warning. Everywhere there were severed limbs and broken arms. I caught a glimpse of this scene and almost felt sick enough to throw up. I lost my appetite for the freshly made spicy mixed dish. A few days later, a row of military trucks stopped at the foot of the mountain, with bright red flags fluttering in the air. Thank you all for waiting. The national security zone has been completed, and we have been ordered to take you to the security zone for temporary residence. Next, we will carry out disinfection tasks to prevent the resurgence of the zombie virus. Looking at the military green figure stepping down from the vehicle, everyone was teary-eyed. We have finally welcomed the dawn.